What would you do if you learned the quiet man who cleaned your school, the one earning just $14 an hour, was methodically conquering a mountain of debt, a testament to an iron will hidden beneath a humble exterior? He made that wage, a stark figure in a world of rising costs. He still paid off hundreds each month in student debt, a relentless chipping away at a burden many thought insurmountable for someone in his position. One kid found out. And what happened next, during the school's morning announcement the following day, was something no one, absolutely no one, expected. Elias Thorne moved through the echoing halls of Northwood High with a quiet efficiency that rendered him almost invisible. His days were a rhythm of sweeping, mopping, and emptying bins, the scent of disinfectant a constant companion. $14 an hour. It wasn't a fortune, but Elias managed it with a meticulousness that bordered on artistry. He lived simply, his small apartment sparsely furnished, his meals modest. Every spare penny, every ounce of financial leeway, was channeled towards a singular, consuming goal: eradicating the student loan debt he had accrued years ago for a history degree he'd never had the chance to truly use. The weight of that debt had once felt like a physical shackle, a constant reminder of dreams deferred. But Elias was not a man to wallow. Instead, he had confronted it with a steely resolve. He carried his responsibilities with a quiet dignity, his face often etched with fatigue but never defeat. He saw the fleeting glances from students, the occasional dismissive nod from a teacher, the subtle ways society often measured a man by his job title rather than his character. He felt the sting, a dull ache in his chest, but he never let it embitter him. His focus was elsewhere, on the numbers in his worn ledger, on the slow, painstaking descent of his loan balance. Leo Maxwell was a sophomore, a lanky kid with observant eyes and a habit of lingering in the background. He wasn't invisible by choice, but more by a quiet nature that often saw him noticing things others missed. He'd seen Elias wince while lifting a heavy trash can, seen him pause by the library window to look at a display of new books with a wistful expression. There was a depth to the janitor that intrigued him, a sense of a story untold. One late Tuesday afternoon, Leo had stayed after school for a robotics club meeting that ran unusually long. The school was mostly deserted when he finally packed up, the corridors dim and hushed. As he passed the small custodial office tucked away near the gymnasium, he noticed the door was slightly ajar, a sliver of light spilling into the hallway. He heard a faint sigh, a sound of profound weariness mixed with something else, a quiet satisfaction, perhaps. Curiosity, a trait that often led Leo down interesting paths, got the better of him. He peeked through the crack. Elias was at his small, battered desk, not polishing or sorting supplies, but hunched over a collection of papers. His brow was furrowed in concentration, a cheap ballpoint pen moving methodically across a sheet. Leo's eyes, adjusting to the dim light, caught a glimpse of a printed statement, student loan services, and then, a figure circled in red, monthly payment, $48,750. $487.50. Leo did a quick mental calculation. At $14 an hour, before taxes, that was nearly 35 hours of work. Almost a full week's wages, just for one payment, month after month. He saw the neat columns in Elias's ledger, the dates, the amounts paid, the slowly decreasing principal. It was a chronicle of relentless perseverance. Elias leaned back then, running a hand over his tired face. He looked at the paper, then out the small, grimy window of his office, his gaze distant. He wasn't aware of the young eyes watching him, witnessing this private battle. What happened next was a silent, internal shift within Leo. He had heard his parents talk about mortgages and bills, the stress of finances. But this felt different. This was a quiet, solitary war being waged with honor and an almost unimaginable discipline. Leo pulled back from the door, his heart thumping. He felt like he had stumbled upon something sacred, something deeply personal. He walked home that evening, the image of Elias and his ledger burned into his mind. The janitor, the man who cleaned up spilled sodas and graffiti, was a warrior in his own right. The next day, Leo found it hard to look at Elias in the same way. He saw not just the janitor, but the man who sacrificed, who endured, who fought silently. He wanted to say something, to acknowledge what he knew, but the words wouldn't come. How could he, a teenager, address such a profound, adult struggle? He noticed Mrs. Albright, one of the more imperious English teachers, speak sharply to Elias about a smudge on the hallway floor, her tone dismissive, as if addressing an inconvenience rather than a person. Elias merely nodded, his expression unreadable, and promised to take care of it. Leo felt a surge of indignation. She had no idea. None of them had any idea. The injustice of it, the sheer lack of recognition for Elias's quiet strength, began to fester in Leo's mind. He knew he couldn't just let it go. Elias deserved more than anonymity and condescension. He deserved respect. He deserved to be seen. But what could one kid do? The question gnawed at him throughout his classes, a persistent hum beneath the surface of lectures on algebra and history. During lunch, an idea sparked, audacious and terrifying. The morning announcements. They were usually a bland recitation of club meetings and sports scores, delivered by the principal, Ms. Evans, or a student council representative. What if Elias's story could be told there? The thought made Leo's palms sweat. He was not a public speaker, not someone who sought the spotlight. But the image of Elias's tired face, juxtaposed with the circled $48,750, spurred him on. He had to try. After his last class, Leo walked to the administrative office, his steps hesitant but determined. He asked to speak with Ms. Evans. The secretary, Mrs. Henderson, looked surprised. Leo wasn't a troublemaker, nor was he one of the overly ambitious student leaders who frequented the principal's office. "What is it regarding, Leo?" Mrs. Henderson asked, her voice kind but questioning. It's important," Leo managed, his voice barely above a whisper. Ms. Evans' office was intimidating, with its large oak desk and shelves filled with educational treatises. She was a stern but fair woman, known for her no-nonsense attitude. She listened patiently as Leo, stumbling over his words at first, recounted what he had seen, what he had understood about Elias Thorne. He spoke of the $14 wage, the nearly $500 monthly payment, the quiet dignity of the man. He didn't embellish, he just told the truth as he'd witnessed it. "And what is it you're proposing, Leo?" Ms. Evans asked when he finished, her expression unreadable. "I thought, maybe, people should know," Leo said, his gaze fixed on his clasped hands. "Not to embarrass him, but to honor him. To show that people like him, who work hard and do the right thing, even when it's incredibly difficult, they matter. They're heroes too." Ms. Evans was silent for a long moment, tapping her pen on her blotter. Leo's heart sank. He had overstepped. It was a foolish idea. Then, she looked at him, a flicker of something new in her eyes. "Mr. Thorne has been with us for 6 years, Leo," she said softly. "He's always been reliable, always thorough. I confess, I knew he was a man of good character, but I did not know the extent of his fortitude." She paused. "You have a good heart, Leo. And a keen eye. Let me think about this." Leo left the office unsure if he had succeeded or failed. He spent a restless night, replaying the conversation, imagining all possible outcomes. He barely slept, his anxiety coiling tighter with each passing hour. The next morning, the school buzzed with its usual pre-class energy. Students clattered down hallways, teachers hurried to their rooms, and Elias was already at work, his presence a familiar, grounding constant. He nodded a polite good morning as Leo passed, unaware of the turmoil within the boy, or of the conversation that had taken place the previous afternoon. Leo could only offer a weak smile in return. He felt a profound sense of dread and anticipation. The first bell rang, and students settled into their homerooms. The intercom crackled to life, the signal for the morning announcements. Usually, it was a moment for students to tune out, to finish homework, to whisper to friends. "Good morning, Northwood High," came Ms. Evans' voice, crisp and authoritative as usual. She went through the standard list: debate club meeting, bake sale for the band, tonight's basketball game. Leo held his breath. Was that it? Had she decided against it? Then, Miss Evans' tone shifted. It became softer, more reflective. Before we conclude, she said, and a different kind of quiet fell over the classrooms. I want to share something with you. Something about courage, perseverance, and the quiet dignity of a man who walks among us every day. Leo's heart hammered against his ribs. This was it. We often celebrate victories on the sports field or achievements in academics, Miss Evans continued, her voice resonating through the school. And those are important. But there are other kinds of victories, other kinds of strengths, that often go unnoticed. There are people who fight battles in silence, who carry heavy burdens with grace and determination, asking for nothing in return. Elias was in the middle of cleaning a spill in the science wing when the announcement began. He usually paid little attention to them, the words a distant murmur. But something in the principal's tone made him pause, his mop still in hand. There is an individual in our school community, Miss Evans said, who earns a modest wage, a wage that many would find challenging to live on, let alone thrive. Yet, this individual, through sheer force of will and incredible discipline, has been shouldering a significant financial responsibility, paying off substantial student loan debt, month after month, year after year. A murmur rippled through the classrooms. Students looked at each other, confused, intrigued. Who was she talking about? Some teachers frowned, wondering if this was about a colleague. Mrs. Albright, in her classroom, tapped her pen impatiently, wondering why the principal was wasting time on such vagaries. This person doesn't seek recognition, Miss Evans' voice continued, gaining a quiet power. This person simply does what they believe is right, working diligently, living frugally, and meeting their obligations with unwavering commitment. We're talking about payments of nearly $500 a month, a testament to incredible sacrifice and character, all while performing essential work for our school, work that allows all of us to learn and teach in a clean and safe environment. Elias froze. $500? How could she know? His mind raced. His private struggle, his carefully guarded secret, laid bare. A wave of heat washed over him, a mixture of shock and a sudden, acute vulnerability. He wanted to disappear, to melt into the linoleum floor. This individual, Miss Evans said, her voice now filled with a warmth and respect that was undeniable, is Mr. Elias Thorne, our valued custodian. Silence. A profound, absolute silence descended upon Northwood High. For a few heartbeats, it felt as if the entire school had stopped breathing. Elias stood motionless in the hallway, the mop clutched in his hand, his face pale. He could feel the imagined weight of 1,000 eyes on him, even though he was alone. Then, it started. A smattering of applause from one classroom. Then another. And another. It grew, swelling into a wave of sound, a thunderous ovation that rolled through the hallways, through the intercom, washing over Elias. It wasn't pity. It was respect. Admiration. Acknowledgement. In her classroom, Mrs. Albright's jaw had dropped. Elias? The quiet janitor? She replayed her curt words to him from the day before, the casual dismissal. A flush of shame crept up her neck. She, who prided herself on understanding character through literature, had utterly failed to see the epic unfolding in her own hallway. Leo, sitting in his homeroom, felt tears prick his eyes. He hadn't expected this. The sheer power of the collective response was overwhelming. He saw his classmates, normally absorbed in their phones or gossip, looking genuinely moved, some even standing. What happened next, in the immediate aftermath of that announcement, was a subtle but profound shift in the school's atmosphere. When Elias, dazed and overwhelmed, finally made his way back to his small office, he found Mrs. Henderson, the usually unflappable secretary, waiting for him with a thermos of coffee and a kind smile. "Miss Evans asked me to give you this, Elias," she said gently. "And thank you for everything you do." Throughout the morning, students and teachers approached him. Not with awkwardness, but with genuine warmth. A group of football players, usually boisterous and self-absorbed, stopped him in the hall. "Mr. Thorne," their captain said, "that was really something." Mad respect, sir, they offered him fist bumps, their eyes holding a new understanding. A young art student shyly handed him a quickly sketched portrait of him, not in his janitor's uniform, but depicted as a knight, his mop like a standard. "You're an inspiration," she whispered before hurrying away. Elias was a man of few words, and he found himself struggling to respond to the outpouring. He mumbled his thanks, his face flushed, his heart a confusing mix of gratitude and embarrassment. He had never sought attention, had always preferred the quiet corners. Yet, this sudden light, though initially startling, felt warm. It wasn't the glare of scrutiny, but the gentle glow of appreciation. He felt seen, truly seen, perhaps for the first time in years. Leo watched it all from a distance, a quiet satisfaction blooming in his chest. He hadn't done it for thanks, but seeing the change in how people treated Elias, seeing the janitor stand a little taller, his quiet dignity now openly acknowledged, was reward enough. Ms. Evans caught his eye later that day and gave him a small, approving nod. It was all the recognition Leo needed. The impact of that morning announcement rippled further than just Elias's personal experience. Teachers found themselves discussing it in their classes. What did it mean to be successful? What constituted heroism? Conversations about unseen labor, about financial literacy, about judging people by their character rather than their job title, sprang up organically. Some students, led by the student council, started a staff appreciation initiative, organizing small gestures of gratitude for all the support staff, the cafeteria workers, the groundskeepers, the administrative assistants. They raised money not for a grand gesture, but for better coffee in the staff room, for small gift cards, for a bulletin board where students could post notes of thanks. It was a small change, but it signaled a larger shift in awareness and empathy. Mrs. Albright, for her part, made a point of seeking Elias out. "Mr. Thorne," she began, her voice softer than he had ever heard it, I owe you an apology. For not seeing, for not recognizing the remarkable person you are." Elias, ever gracious, simply nodded. "We all have our burdens to carry, madam," he said quietly. And our own ways of seeing the world. Her apology, though, felt like another small weight lifted. Elias's life didn't transform overnight in a material sense. He still earned $14 an hour. He still had debt to pay, though the end was now more clearly in sight, a beacon he moved towards with renewed vigor. But something fundamental had changed within the walls of Northwood High, and within Elias himself. He was no longer just the janitor. He was Elias Thorne, a man of quiet strength, a symbol of resilience, a respected member of the community. He walked the halls with the same quiet efficiency, but now, there was a lightness in his step, an openness in his face. The glances he received were no longer dismissive or indifferent, they were smiles, nods of respect, quiet acknowledgments of shared humanity. What happened that day at Northwood High wasn't just about one man's struggle or one student's courage to speak up. It was a reminder that true worth isn't measured in dollars or job titles. It's measured in character, in resilience, in the quiet integrity with which we face our challenges. Elias Thorne, the janitor earning $14 an hour, taught an entire school a lesson far more valuable than anything found in a textbook. He showed them that heroes don't always wear capes, sometimes, they carry mops and ledgers, fighting their battles in the quiet corners of the world, their victories unseen until someone has the wisdom to look closer. And Leo Maxwell? He learned that one voice, even a quiet one, can spark a profound change. He learned that empathy and action can illuminate the hidden worth in others, transforming not just their lives, but the heart of an entire community. This story teaches us a powerful lesson: never underestimate the people around you based on their appearance or their station in life. Everyone is fighting a battle you may know nothing about. Elias's quiet dignity and unwavering determination in the face of financial hardship, and Leo's courage to bring that hidden heroism to light, show us the profound impact of individual actions. It reminds us that true strength often resides where we least expect it, and that recognizing and honoring that strength can change everything. So, look around you. Who are the unsung heroes in your life, in your school, in your workplace? Take the time to see them, to appreciate them. Don't let quiet dedication go unnoticed. Because sometimes, the most inspiring stories are the ones unfolding silently, right before our eyes, waiting for someone to simply pay attention. Share this story if it moved you, and let's all try to be a little more like Leo, observant, empathetic, and brave enough to shine a light on the goodness that too often stays in the shadows. Remember, a little recognition can make a world of difference.